So I believe this is a takeaway of spiral dynamics that is largely ignored within the integral, or at least spiral dynamics community. I'll try to keep this short, but I think it is important. When we think about the second tier, when we think about the emergence of yellow, most of the characterizations of it have been such that, it's just a kind of step up, especially within the integral community. They kind of see this kind of fairly progressive movement, not so much a fall back. But the way I've been looking at it is more in line with, the founder's presentation of spiral dynamics proper, Claire W. Graves, where he sees, not only a monumental leap in meaning, but a fairly radical falling back, a reemergence of sort of, I'll even put it chaotic kind of atmosphere. That is to say, the breakdown of the first tier in some profound ways. We see now we're in very late stage capitalism, in my opinion, and that would probably mean that the emergence of this new tier is, in my opinion, something akin to decentralized currencies and so forth as sort of the groundwork for this. And the radical shakeup is, in my opinion, potentially going to be very harsh, even though it is a move up in complexity in some very important ways. But in that sense, preparedness-mindedness seems very reasonable in that context. Rebuilding those kind of primitive skills and thinkings and these sorts of things that were foundational to survivalist kind of atmospheres of beige and so forth, particularly when I look in my broader theory, but I won't get into that, is the sense in that, we might be in for real rough times in the near term, and therefore, the grittiness that kind of comes along with that. And so in that kind of climate, survivalist and kind of preparedness mindset would be integral, even though we're moving up in complexity, if that makes sense. So I think that's largely lost in the debate. We talk about these things kind of in a metaphoric way, but there's this kind of rubber meets the road when capitalism breaks down that is really harsh, probably. There's almost no way around it. And there's going to be a lot of fighting from people that are so extraordinarily powerful, that are bringing against the people that are bringing in this new worldview, this new way of living in particular, that are dichotomously kind of opposed. And so therefore, I can see these skill sets of like cryptography being integral, using words and embedding them in sort of metaphor to keep one safe through this context of, rebuilding a culture that has been broken so badly, but survivalness in particular.